Hey, it's episode 59 of Nobody Told Me with Mike and Blaine. I'm Mike and that's Blaine. And what's up, my man?
Oh, doing good. And I'm excited for this topic today. It looks like a really interesting one and excited for this beer that I got going today. And I'm just going to dive right in on that because I've got one today called the Foggy Dew Hazy Pale Ale from Dog Island Brewing. So I found another Alberta brewery. I've had their beer before, but I actually kind of forgot about them until I saw them in the store. These guys are up at Slave Lake. So a little bit north of us, kind of a lot north of us, to be honest. And but a cool little brewery up there. What do you got going?
All right, so hey, so there's no chit chat with you. This is dive right in and get right to the good stuff, huh? I mean, there's no like, hey, how you doing? How's your weekend? I mean, those types. You get right to it, right? So that's what I like about you is you live in the moment. You want to do things right now, and you want to remember them later, just like our sponsor, mylifeinabook.com. Oh, you see how I did that?
Great segue, man. That is pro. It's like pro radio right there.
All right. Yeah, if you haven't checked them out already, mylifeinabook.com, go check it out. Use the promo code NOBODY, get 10% off right there using the code NOBODY. We're going to talk about it a little bit later in the show. But hey, I've got big news, right? The big news for me is I am sponsored. Mike is sponsored this month by Roughhouse Brewing, right? There, I got a little swag stickers that they gave me. I'm trying to get some t-shirts and stuff out of them, but Roughhouse Brewing out of San Marcos. And I'll tell you, I had to drive over and meet Alex, right? So I drove over, they gave me a case of beer, right? So I'm going to be showcasing 4 of their beers all month. So I'm breaking tradition of doing a different brewery every single month. And I'm only going to talk about Roughhouse this month, right? So if you're a brewer out there, if you know somebody that brews out there and wants to be sponsored, if you want, to take on Blaine or take on Mike, get in front of it because we're going to talk about you a lot more. When I'm sponsored, I really dig in. So what they've done is they've given me 2 seasonals, stuff that's just coming out, right? Just coming out. Some of these aren't even released yet, but I'm going to talk about them. And then I'm going to get, then I've got 2 session beers, things that are more, easy to drink. You find them on the shelves. They're all year round. But let me tell you about Alex and her husband. They live on a farm, and they call these kind of have you ever heard the term farmhouse
ale?
Beer. Farmhouse beer, yeah, ale. Have you heard that?
Yes, I have. Yeah.
All right, so they actually get the yeast, grow the yeast and all that stuff on site, right?
Nice.
Hand pick it, smell it. I mean, they make sure it's just right, those type of things. All the ingredients they kind of grow. So it's a working farm that produces beer.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And I got to tell you, when I looked at their cans, their bottles, everything, and I'm going to show you this. The one I'm going to do right now is the Honeycrumb, and that is made with, it's a rye blend. Rye bread. I can't read it. That's not their fault. It's mine. Yeah, it's with rye bread and honey. So, but look at this thing. This is a piece of art on here.
Oh, yeah.
And the other ones that I have that you're going to see over the month are watercolors, right? They have a friend that's an artist. She's brilliant with watercolors. And these are beautiful cans and bottles you're going to see over the next couple of weeks. Check this out, though. It's called Roughhouse Ale. So I had a perception of what their logo, their branding, and everything is going to be like.
Yeah.
And I said, it didn't match, right? Pretty, nice, subtle, pastel colors, and Roughhouse. So it kind of didn't match. And she goes, well, you thought about it the wrong way. So what do you mean? She goes, well, we were thinking about like just on the farm, your brothers and sisters, you kind of roughhouse and play. And it's that familiar atmosphere where that's what we wanted to bring into it, was how you act with your family. So what a great group. Alex was just a wonderful person. And well, we're going to be showcasing them. So Roughhouse Brewery in San Marcos.
Nice. I'm eager to try it. I don't know if I can get it up here. I sort of doubt it. It sounds like quite a small brewery. So one of these days I'll make it down your way and I'll give them a try. And especially when you talk about rye bread and honey, I'm German. So well, I'm Canadian German. And man, there's nothing better than rye bread and a little bit of honey on is definitely have had that many a time.
Right. All right, so very cool. So yeah, we got all the stuff out of the way, but man, you went right into it. You didn't even say hi, Mike, nothing. You went right into it.
Well, we were chatting before we got on. So by the time we got started, I'm like, oh, what am I doing? Oh, where's my beer? That's where I was.
All right, so I've had some great feedback this week about the show. I mean, if you haven't, seen us, the people I talked with today had never seen us on video, only audio, right? So I don't even think about that because I see us on video every time, and I think about us as a video podcast more so than audio. They go, man, it's just so different.
So do I. And it's funny because now I'm curious what do you guys picture? If you're just listening to this audio, I'm curious what you picture us to look like. And then of course you'll turn it on and get sorely disappointed. And that guy's got no hair. Well, that guy's got lots of hair. So it's tune into YouTube if you haven't seen us. And then but I have a hard time picturing it as audio only as well, because we sit here and chat the whole time. And I think it'd be weird if we couldn't see each other. I don't think it'd be as easy to talk.
It'd be more difficult, right? I mean, like the old time radio people, I mean, they couldn't see each other, those type of things. So I think it'd be more difficult. Here, I can feed off you. I can see you. I can see how you're trying to, get your point across.
Yeah, exactly.
Totally interesting. So today's topic, right? Today's topic is, man, I couldn't believe it popped up. Now, first of all, the other one I saw first, I pushed it aside because I thought we covered it a few months ago. I'm like, it's a little too similar. Let's dig into something different.
Sure.
We'll rekindle that one a little bit later. But today's topic is by a guy named Sean Rad. It's something that he said, but I've heard this in 100 other different ways. But it's data beats emotion. Data beats emotion. That's what we're going to be talking about. And I want to see, especially from your point of view, building a cash flow forecasting tool at Dry Run. I want to see from your point of view, what that means to you.
Yeah, man, that's a rad topic.
It is a rad topic.
You know what? I forgot for a while there. I was trying to resurrect rad because it's such a cool term from back in the 80s. That's rad. And then I forgot about it, so it didn't resurrect at all. But I had to use it right there as a bad pun. Then nothing makes it more uncool than a bad pun.
I'm gonna make it worse because have you seen? I don't know if you watch Family Guy or not. Every once in a while, I'll throw it on at night.
I haven't seen it in a few years, but yeah, I've definitely seen it. Yeah.
Okay, I've never seen this, but I saw an episode where the Griffins meet the Simpsons. And they're all together in the same episode, right? So when you say rad, I think Bart Simpson already. Yeah, that's rad. So we're gonna bring it back, but we're talking about Sean Rad.
Yeah. Okay. Circling all the way back, Sean Rad. It's a great topic because I think there's, for a company like ours, like in a tech startup, that's a nice looking beer. That's a good color.
Yeah, that's a great color. But I wanted to also show the Cardinals since it's playoff baseball. So that's a really cool colored beer. Yeah. All right, go ahead. Sorry.
Where was I? No, I can't. We just barely got started here. No, for a company like ours, for startups, we always talk about data. Like data is so critical, and it is sort of more important than emotion. But you know what? Early on, the one thing I will I'm going to go a little counter to the quote, because we are going to talk about data. We're going to talk about how important data is. As a startup, it can be very misleading if you don't have critical mass, if you don't have a big enough sample size. And so there's times where you're so eager to follow data, but your data points might be 1, 2, 3, and you're like, that's data. No, it's not. That's emotion. But early on, I think you have to go a lot on your gut and your feel. And I'm going to bring it in a little bit and say emotions, because when your customers are excited about you, that's that emotion that you want. So as much as I love data and we use it, and even our tools about delivering data, I do want to just sort of caution people that they're starting out. It has to be a big enough sample size to make sense.
All right, so let me push on that just a little bit. So when you say emotion, I realize you got to go with your gut every once in a while, but your gut is developed somewhere. It's developed with impressions from your customers, your feedback, you're talking with people in the market. That's data, but not like we think of now. like the matrix style, numbers, letters moving across the street. It's still data, even if you're just getting it from ear to ear, right?
Exactly. And I want to find a little example that popped up this week that if I can find it, because it was a comment from one of our customers that we just found. One of our team just found it on a Reddit. We didn't know it was there. And I can't remember the exact quote, but it was a great quote from I think one of our clients, but we don't know who it is. It's like a weird Reddit name, but their emotional response to our software was like, oh, wow, that is so. And I guess that would be a data point, but it's a qualitative data point, not a quantitative data point, I guess. Right.
Yeah. But I think you could, codify that by saying, oh, well, when people think it's good, that's how they're having these sentiment quotients, right? Have you seen the AI that kind of reads the sentiment of sentences? Say, does this have a negative connotation or does this have a positive connotation? And they score you from a social media standpoint, right? Like what's the public sentiment about you? And I'm going to find before the end of this podcast, I'm going to find the company you can do that. You can get it's for free. You can get this, just a public sentiment thing, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But what they've done is they've leveraged some AI that goes in and looks at words or looks at tone, capital letters, probably everything is into this score. Is this a more positive review or a more negative review? And it's scored like, I don't know, somewhere between 0 and 100.
Find this after the show. And then, because I want to put this quote in because this is the quote. This is why we thought this was just interesting because this is a financial forecasting software. So the quote is dry run, fucking stellar, amazing forecasting ability or capability. And that is really like someone really excited about what we do. And it was really cool to see, guess we didn't bleep that out, but anyway, it was really cool to see someone that's how they reacted to what we offer. That to me was a really strong data point, right? Like, but again, a qualitative data point, not a quantitative one. Well,
and especially when it's positive like that, I mean, the emotion you get, is just a rush. It's like, oh yeah, somebody loves our stuff. And what's interesting is that forecasting software has got to be the hardest thing in the world because you're going to be wrong most of the time. I mean, all it takes is one person to make a different decision and your forecast is wrong. Like going, no, I'm going to pay this later.
Yeah. Oh no, but that's the thing is then it's updated. But the future is never, you're never going to be accurate, but you're never going to be right. But you want to be close, right? You want to be some level of accuracy, right?
Oh, it goes back to your quote on the bus, right? I mean, you don't know how many times I use that. I use that now in my speaking engagements, and I always give you credit, right? I didn't steal it from you. I always give you credit.
You can take credit, man. I'm okay with that.
Not just, before you cross the street, don't you look? And yeah, if there's a bus coming, your options change, right? What you're saying there is that, being able to look is the key. Doing the looking is the key. That's why you teach kids before they go across the street, look left and right? Because you got to know what the future holds. It might hold the hospital.
Exactly. That's exactly. And you're buying yourself time to make decisions. That's the key part, right?
Exactly right.
But it's so like, as far as dry run goes, like this is a great example. If we're talking about dry run and about financial forecasting, cash management, like I kind of tend to characterize dry run as we help with your near term, your cash flow. You're going to have enough to make payroll on Friday. You're kind of your midterm sales pipeline. Do you have enough that's going to fuel your company? Any big dips coming? And your longer term growth. How are you going to drive your company forward? Right. All those decisions are better informed with having that data than with emotions. So there are places where it's like, you really have to take the emotions out because I think they actually cloud what you're doing, what you're looking at, where you're going. And that data clarifies. So even with us, we're not just looking at dry run data. Of course, we're looking at user data, traffic data, conversion data, sales pipeline data. We're looking at all these data points. And that actually really does help. It takes away, those assumptions, like you said, emotions and things like that. And it's just like, I thought we were doing better over here. I thought we were converting better over here because it felt like it. And then it turns out the number wasn't up to there. And then sometimes you find that hidden nugget. I didn't realize this was going that well. Look at the numbers there. It slid right past us. We actually had that twice in the last month where there was exactly that, where we basically made a little bit of a shift, and it was down to numbers, and we had these ideas in our head. And then I started combing through customer data and coming up with percentages and color coding and prioritizing. And then all of a sudden you sit back and go, holy smokes, look at these numbers. Look at that percentage. That is, way stronger than we thought. And so it tells you, it gives you direction, and it verifies this is where you put your time and energy, right?
Yeah. So I found that tool as well, but I think you're exactly right. There's a good combination of both numbers and gut, that you have to balance. But I don't, taking the other position is you can't just say the data is wrong. You can't just say and ignore it altogether, especially as it starts to pile up, as you start to get a lot of it. At Finograph, and James Walter, the CEO there, always said, hey, data talks, not bullshit walks, but it's like emotions have to walk, right? Data talks, emotions have to walk. That we later said, hey, money talks. Let's stop doing things for free. We need to go get the money now.
Yeah, exactly.
The name of the tool, and it doesn't do what you said, which is I can put in somebody's sentence. What it does is it's called Social Searcher, social dash searcher. I think it's .com, socialsearcher.com. Yeah, it's a free social media search engine. And what it does is you put in, like, what's a hashtag you guys use?
Like just put in like entrepreneurship, maybe. Just curious.
Well, no, something that you use, because I'm gonna look at.
Okay. So just to say, like, cash flow management, financial forecast, one or two. This is exciting here, just watching Mike type stuff.
Yeah,
I'll just keep talking.
Right, so I'll share the screen, put it on the thing, like dry run. Then I didn't see that, but you said what do you want me to do?
We'll do cash management or cash flow management. See what it does.
Yeah, I'm gonna share that with you. So what is it? Cash flow management. And what it does is it searches everything out there, right? And pulls up cash flow. And it pulls it up, cash flow management. It's gonna, 11 different sources. It's looking for it. I think you can search your company though as well.
Okay.
Yeah, so you go down here, because what it's going to do then is, I guess when you log in, you can search your actual website, or dryrun.com. And anywhere you guys are mentioned, it'll pop up and it'll give you kind of a score. It's kind of a sentiment score.
Okay, cool.
Maybe I have a login.
Oh, I'll play with it later. This is starting to look like a webinar.
You don't want to do that. Beer drinking. I'm going to ruin the podcast in one episode. But so anyway, what I liked about it is they give you a score. It's all this. It's a whole dashboard about your company. You put in your website address or dryrun.com or dry run or cash flow and dry run, and it finds all these things where they're connected. The data points there are, what is that public sentiment? And like you said, there were things on Reddit that you didn't even know existed. There's probably things just on Facebook you don't know exist, right? Where people talk about it in a way that you should be able to find it and you can't.
Yeah. And that's, I'm going to check that out after, because that is something that, you're always trying to figure out. Sometimes we'll get a little burst of traffic from somewhere, a bunch of signups, and you're like, wow, we're somewhere online where people saw us and, or someone was talking about us, whatever, but suddenly we got a little rush, and those are sort of data points that are like, yeah, but we can't we can't source it. We don't know where it's coming from. So it's kind of like, it's nice, but it's kind of useless data in a way, unless you can figure out kind of that root cause. So I guess that gets into the question of sort of numbers for numbers sake, or the worst, vanity metrics, how that vanity metrics are there to support emotions, right? Like you're using them to make yourself feel good.
Exactly right. Well, what about do you do any A/B testing? Like with what we'll say Facebook ads. I don't know if you probably don't run a lot of that, but have you ever, I guess is the question.
Yeah. We've done some A/B testing on Facebook. Like we don't run a lot of that. We're mostly doing content and things, but we've done that with with I think Google Ads for sure. Probably with some Facebook stuff. Google Ads makes it it's so easy to do like multiple different A, B, C, D sort of testing. We've done it on all kinds of messaging type things, and you're trying to refine things and see. But again, you got to be so careful, because if the sample size isn't big enough, it's so easy to jump early.
Yeah. Well, and that's just it. Okay. So I've done like Facebook, like campaign testing, right? Where you might have 5 different variations, where maybe you just change the pictures or you just change the headlines. And, what you're looking for is what they call a statistical difference, right? Where it makes statistical sense. When I'm talking about, if they're all like 49% conversion rates, they're like 49, 48, 47, that's not a statistical difference to me that, where one has an advantage over another. I'm looking for something more of a 10 to 15 or more point swing. Like one is performing at 70%, one's at 55 or 60. I'm like, okay, we need to push more money into the 70%, right? That's how I use data in those sense. Whereas what's the conversion rate, or what's the goal rate that we're achieving? And once you see the split, which you go, oh my God, we got one that's overperforming or outperforming the other, that's when you pour some jet fuel on it and really make it go, right?
Yeah.
And defer your budget.
Yeah, and further do some A/B testing down that stream. But I don't know, like if Facebook or Google, like I don't recall if they give any indication of when it's likely statistically valid.
No,
right?
that's where the gut comes in. All right. When do I think it's, there's a significant difference between the two?
Yeah.
Where I can make a decision saying, okay, cut that one off and turn this one on more, right? Or move this one up higher in the priority.
And the thing that comes to mind there with like just a really basic example of how important a sample size is if you, and because I've seen these things before or read about them where you flip a coin like 100 times and literally jot down the heads or the tails, and you're going to get some big strings where you'll have like 7, 8, 10, 12 in a row of one, and you might have one of the other. You have to get to a really large sample size before it literally gets 50-50. And it's when you see that, then you realize, because in your mind, you kind of think it's going to be like one and the other, then maybe a couple in a row and then back to the other. No, it doesn't work that way. And you get these really long strings. And that's just such a good reminder that like, where is it valid, where it's kind of like settling in and you're not getting those false positives.
Well, with that in mind, then, and I think each of us, there's a different threshold of risk tolerance, which means how long do I let something go to collect the data to make a better decision? Because, if you had a subscription product out there, say dry run in the beginning, you get 25 people in a row say no, you might change, when really it was just, I don't know, who knows what the reason is that they didn't, but it wasn't because of the product, or it wasn't just because of the advertising. It could have been the time of day. You had 25 people click on it because they saw it at that time, but they were busy and they come back to it later.
Yeah.
Right. So I think that goes, so how long, with that in mind, how long do you think you should, we're talking about a marketing or a paid search plan now. How long should you kind of stick to it? How long do you?
Well, like, again, it comes down to sample size. So if you've got a whole pile of money in, it might be a week, but it's because you're doing 10,000 a week or what. Like I just know you you probably shouldn't make a determination when you've had like 200 clicks or 500, like, or 500 clicks or something. You need, with some of those things, you definitely like, which each of these things with sample size to me is there's no perfect number, right? You have to get, like you said, like with a customer signing up and buying and things like that, you might feel like you're getting more information with a smaller group. And then like A/B testing on Google, it's like, man, yeah, make sure you have like, I don't know how many thousands upon thousands, 10,000, 50 impressions or whatever. You have to have enough clicks to make it make sense. And I don't really know what it is. I'd kind of have to look, like, I haven't done that in a while. I'd have to look in Google and just kind of, but I would say it's probably worth doing some research online and finding out like where does it become something that you should actually pay attention to, and where could it completely mislead you? Because one of them, for no true valid reason, outperforms the other early, and you get rid of one, and it could be like too early and take you right down the wrong path, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the think about exponential growth. Whereas if I see one at 6 clicks and one at 3 clicks, it looks like it's outperforming by double, but that could just be, that short amount of sample size. But what about 600 to 300 or 6,000 to 3,000? Then all of a sudden it means something different to me, right? 6,000 clicks on one versus 3,000 on another. That's a big enough difference for me to make a change.
Yeah, exactly.
Stop wasting money over here. Because we're losing half the clicks,
and it is a balancing act, and that comes down to, even with when we, like, some of the tactics we've used, some of the pricing we've used, some of the channels we've gone after. Every time we've started to make a change, it's like you look back later and go, "Oh man, did we abandon that too early, or did we hang on to it too long?" And you kind of feel one or the other. It's very rare that you're like, "Yeah, we held that for the perfect amount of time, and then we shifted." It's like hindsight's 2020, right?
Oh, absolutely. So, all right. So I know you know about our sponsor, right? So today's episode is once again sponsored by mylifeinabook.com. And, I've got to tell you, Blaine, it's probably the most thoughtful gift that I've ever come across from my parents or grandparents. Heck, it doesn't matter. It works for every occasion. It could be their birthday. It could be Christmas, anything. It's basically the most powerful way to connect with them emotionally. It preserves all of our precious moments, and it really shows them that I care, right? Because I want to know more about them and I want to preserve that memory. And best of all, it's instantaneous, which means I can even get it at the last minute. I don't have to buy it up in advance.
And you and I both know that's really important, to be able to get something going last minute after we forgot and put things off too long. And this is how it works. This is the part I love, is every week, mylifeinabook.com lets you choose from a list of thought-provoking questions, or even write your own, which gets sent to your relative by email. So what I love about this is that it's not all at once. So you're not trying to get somebody to write a book. It's just doing the little itty bitty things every day or every week for a year. And that's amazing how much you could get over a year with what would feel like very little work. So your relative writes their answer, and they can choose and add a meaningful picture even if they want. This happens every week. And at the end of 1 year, all the stories get combined in a beautiful keepsake book that you can store at your relatives' memories forever and pass them on to future generations, which are printed and sent to you.
And not only that, you don't just get one book, you can get as many as you want. And you can even get it in audio format as well. I mean, they'll record it and tell you the stories, right? If you're that type of learner, like listening to a podcast, you like to do it that way. So with mylifeinabook.com, you can give those you love a most personal gift that tells them they're meaningful to you and you're sharing their lives with future generations. So to save $10 off your first purchase, go to mylifeinabook.com and use code NOBODY at checkout. For us, right? Nobody told us with Mike and Blaine. That's mylifeinabook.com and use discount code NOBODY to get $10 off your first purchase. So what a great sponsor. I'm glad to have them.
Yeah, go check those guys out. This is just and when you get to the website, go check out the website. When you get to the website, you can tell it's like, this is a really quality product, a really quality business. It makes you think this is not just a great idea, but these guys are going to be able to execute and do a really great job for you. So that's really exciting. They're a great sponsor for us.
Right on.
Plus your beer sponsor. I need a beer sponsor. Anyone in Alberta. I'll be down in Scottsdale soon. Anyone in Scottsdale, just do. If you're a brewery, come chat. We'll sponsor. You can sponsor. So all you gotta do is give me some beer. That's it. Like it's nobody just for the beer sponsors. Just beer.
Roughhouse Brewery. That's what they've done. And I tell you, not only am I a hair model, I know we talked about that, but now I'm a beer spokesman. I'm living a life.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I don't think I can pull off hair model these days anymore. So.
Yeah, well, that's a story for another time. I'm sure there's people on listening to the podcast that go, "What? That guy partially bald."
Yeah, it's like, it's stubble. There's lots of stubble.
You're just gonna be nice. I mean, your winter coat now. You're getting your winter coat. So
I know it's getting cold here. So
all right. So we were talking about data, right? So has there ever been a point where the data was wrong that you can remember? You're like going, "Oh my God, we missed it. The data was there. We followed the data and it led us down the wrong path."
Yes. I can't think of just like I'd have to rack my brain. I can't think of that perfect, like that specific instance. But as soon as I say it, I know the feeling. So I know that this isn't a rarity, that you're like I said before, it's like sometimes you look back and you say, I think we might have abandoned this a bit soon. I think we might have shifted a bit soon over here. And then on the other side, it's like, I think we held on too long over here. Those are the feelings I have, is that you never or rarely feel like, yeah, we cut it at the right time, right? It's one or the other. It's like selling stocks. It's like either, you have the feeling you either sold too soon or too late. You're never going to hit it exactly. Or you bought, you never buy at the bottom and you never sell at the top, right?
Well, and that's a data-driven game, right? Except for, here's what I don't like. Most people ignore fundamentals on stock trading. It's all like public sentiment about how people feel about things, right? That's how they were able to manipulate GameStop. It's just like, well, we're going to do it. We don't care if the company's succeeding, failing, losing money, making money. We're just going to manipulate their stock price with enough purchases to cause a wave of people to go do it behind us.
Yeah. This is kind of interesting though, because this is where emotion or gut comes in. Maybe more like you're saying is public sentiment will affect like stock prices, real estate prices, crypto prices. And they sometimes when there's a real dip or when it's right at the bottom, you to me, it's like, yeah, but you buy low, you jump in and you take that risk because that's when you have a chance. You have to buy low. The only way you buy low is you're actually going against the overarching public belief in something or disbelief in something. So it's a little bit, it might feel kind of tough to go against everybody else and do that. But I kind of look at it and think, well, everybody should be buying low. But if everybody knew that, there would never be a low because no one would, so like the reason I get to buy these things low and make good money on them is because there's this general wave that pushes the prices down on things, and that's an opportunity. And I think you're probably like me as an entrepreneur. You see opportunity and you grab it, right? Mm-hmm. It's like, this is a great opportunity, terrific opportunity. And you look back later and people are always like, well, how did you buy that so low? How did you make so much off of this? How did you do that? Because I bought low. That's literally it. You have to have the guts to buy low. And because you're buying low, you might not make all your money back, right?
Hey, I'm telling you, in the housing market right now, this house that I'm sitting in, we started the process of COVID. We're like going, we're just going to do it. Here's the opportunity. Folks don't know if they're going to work or not work, and we're just going to go spend. And a lot of people did that. That's where most pools got built, houses got built. It was a boom. But prices, we got in at the beginning, and prices didn't increase till the end, right, of that pandemic season. So was it good timing? It was only good timing because we're like going, let's just do it, because I don't think it's going to get better after this. Right? I don't see prices going down in the future. We were right, but it was a guess, right? There was no data to support that. It was like going, everybody else is,
everybody else is saying, the only data point you have is it went really low. And that's what I'm saying is that everybody else is looking at sort of the data thinking, I don't know why. It's like, why would they think it's going to go lower? There's this weird, you're playing a song.
Yeah, that was on Do Not Disturb. But that was an important person. That was Courtney calling in during the podcast.
Uh-oh. You're in trouble now.
Hey, that's what happens in our work. So I'll just text her up real quick, say, hey, I'm doing the podcast. Now you're in it.
now you're featured. Yeah, it's a weird thing. And I like, people much smarter than me know all about this, of course. But to me, the data, like today in crypto, let's say, because that's something that's really, really low, and public sentiment it is the worst thing, and it's all going to die. And it's, to me, I look at that and I think, well, there's the tendency to think that something that's really low is going to go lower and disappear because it's been going down, and they think, well, it's going to continue to go down. And the same flawed thought is that it's going to continue to go up. So they never will sell. They're just like, it's going to continue to go up. I'm going to buy high and feel comfortable because it feels like it's going to go higher. Because if I look at the history of the data, it is going up, but those things don't seem to go up forever. And when they go to the bottom, they usually, depending on what it is, don't completely disappear. And, we've bought houses basically 3 times in dips, and literally have told people, had people tell us probably all 3 times, why would you buy real estate? Like, how dumb are you? And I'm thinking, it's real estate. It's not going to zero. There's great property. And, how do you think that it's going to go to zero? And I think that's where people actually get clouded by the data, thinking if it's just going to keep going, right?
Well, I had friends do that. They sold their house as it was skyrocketing just last year, earlier this year. And I'm going, what are you going to do next? If you're selling into that market, you're going to be buying into that market. So I'm like, all you're doing is transferring all the wealth you generated on the sale into an overinflated purchase price of the next house,
with fees in between. Yeah,
doesn't make sense. I mean, it just doesn't make sense to me.
No, it's that's a tough one. And I look at that, and and like, as much as I say to friends, like, and it's risky to buy low. I get that, like, but it's risky. I think it's always riskier to buy high, hoping it goes higher. But that's where you get opportunity for a big leap. That's where you get a bargain. And the only reason the bargains are there is because most people don't want to do that.
Well, you know what's funny to me is, I've never been good at timing. And early on, I got burnt in the stock market. I'm talking 20 some years ago. I'm like, I don't get it. I don't like to follow public sentiment. And I guess I just didn't get it. So that one experience drove me into business ownership. I'll tell you that, because I'm like going, I can control everything. If I fail, it's me. If I succeed, it's me. I know exactly what I did to make money or lose money. At the stock market, I put my fate and my fortune in somebody else's, hands. Mm-hmm. And it bothered me. It bothered me to lose money from somebody else's decisions.
Oh, it's true. And I've had a few go to zero, of course, but very few. I've done a lot better than I haven't. And on real estate, on stocks and everything, like, but it's because I feel like you buy enough low, some are going to go high. Right. And of course it's not my main thing. I'm not a stock trader. Business is my main thing, but I always am on the lookout for opportunity. And if I have a chance to get something, I'm going to jump. So.
All right. So when all of this energy stuff really started, and I'm talking, it started to become more of a mainstream topic, early 2000s, mid 2010s, or not 10s. I'll say 2010. I'll just throw a date out there. I think I fell victim to a pump and dump, right? Where they overinflate the price. And it was in natural gas, because everything was going, government regulation was against the oil industry. They was beating up coal, but natural gas was still there, and it was promoted as cleaner. And new company just tapped into a well they were going to sell to, I don't know, one of the other gas companies. They'd already tied into the pipeline. I'm like going, oh yeah, I'm gonna get into this early. Yeah, that lasted about 7 months.
Yeah.
They were out, and I'm like, going, what do you mean out? And then like a year later, they filed bankruptcy, and we were done. You know, all the stocks were gone. So
Yeah.
I'm like, going, man, and that's me thinking all the things are lining up and buying in kind of low, and then it went up. And I probably should have known what the owners did was sell or whoever and sold it, but I didn't. I held on to it thinking, oh, this could be a good play here. Natural gas for the future. It was not. It was terrible for me.
Well, yeah, of course you're getting burned on some. And I like the only time I've really got burned, it tends to be hot stock tip. I don't do those ever anymore. The things I've tended to invest in is because I found a reason that I believe in them, that the rationale is there. And like I remember like Apple now is this massive corporation. I bought a ton of Apple several times, but it was because because I had a creative agency before this. My entire office was full of Apple stuff. We had an editing suite was Apple. Every staff member had the tower with the multi screens and all that stuff. And I believed in the product. I'm like, this is the best product. This is like, that's how I felt. This is the best product. And then, there's they come out with the some of the new products. I'm like, what is this? Like, I'm trying to remember what it was. It's probably literally like an iPod or something the first time. I'm like, that's really neat. But it was my belief and I felt like I understood it, and whether I did or not. So that's what I put money into. And so there's a lot of things I've bought. It's from me doing my belief in a bigger picture sort of idea. I probably don't know the data, don't know the numbers. I just think that feels right to me. That is a stellar product. I get where they're going, right? It matters.
Yeah, but that again, that goes right back to the data, which is you saw the product, so you could see it. That's a data point. Other people are using it. You filled your office with it. People think, oh, I love it. It's great. It's innovative. It's top of the line. It's user friendly. It's all this type of stuff. Those are still all data points, right? The thing is that those are really closely attached
to emotion.
Yeah, really closely attached because they make you feel good. You're not going, well, because I feel good. It's probably a great company. Right?
And what I'm not equipped to do is to look at the stock prices and how it's gone and really infer much from that. I'm not equipped to do that. So there is going to be those data points that are more personal or bigger picture vision where I think they're going. That means more to me. The stock price, all I look at is low, feels like a bargain. That's kind of it. The rest of the trends and everything, I'm not trained to look at that. So I'm buying on where I think they're going. It's future. It's just like dry run. I'm buying not on where they've been. It's where are they today and where do I think they're going? And does that make sense to me?
Now I bet though, there's the opposite of that for you as well, where maybe only one person, where you only had one data point that says, hey, I just bought this Fiddle Hopper and it sucks. Don't buy it. And I bet you didn't buy one, right? Fiddle Hopper is just a name I make for anything that will, but I'm sure that somebody in your life that you trust gave you one data point that was terrible and you didn't even look at it. I don't know what that is, but I'm very, very likely if I dismiss something and if it's someone I trust and I think they know, like what, I have some friends of mine that are real, like they really like their beer and they know their beer quite well. And I think if they said those guys are overhyped, not worth trying, okay. Like I'd probably take that one thing and just go, yeah, okay, I get it. Like now is there something that you're like going, I don't know. You don't know much about beer. You drink wine. I'm gonna go try it.
Oh, there's always. Well, I'll be okay. I'm not going to mention it because I'm not going to be a complete asshole. But there is a restaurant that is started in Alberta, and then they actually moved down to. I actually went to the first one I went to was in Scottsdale, and I found out they're actually from Alberta, and they're popping up everywhere, and this reputation is just growing. And we've eaten there, and we went to one a few weeks ago, and I'm like, the food's tasteless. Like, do you not know what flavor is? I did not. I was so thoroughly unimpressed. And we go to restaurants where I think that they really care, and everything is done, that the ingredients, they care, they matter. And, but flavor is important, and flavor is not fat and salt. That's not flavor. And so sometimes I'm like, I look at that and I'm like, how could this have grown so fast and been so overhyped? And it just does not deliver. And then we can go to a place that the food is outstanding every time. And yeah, it's like 3/4 full, you know, I guess. And I'm like, how does something gain some kind of hype when it's kind of feels like they're not delivering to me?
Yeah. Well, what's funny is that, all right, so when you talk about like what's hyped, what's not, for years I had an Infinity, right? The SUV, the big one.
Yeah, I've had an Infinity, so I'm curious where you're going with this. So, yeah.
Well, loved it. I didn't think there was a better vehicle out there. I mean, I kept it for years, right? Matter of fact, my daughter's driving it now. It's still a good vehicle. But when I went to go buy something different, people like, you know, they pointed me towards back to Infinity or other, you know, luxury style vehicles. And I'll tell you what, I got into an Expedition, a Ford Expedition, and just loved it. I'm like, I don't know what you guys are talking about. This thing is just as good as that Infinity I drove. Everything about it. But it was just one of those ones that is too basic for most people. So it's overlooked. Like, but it has all the cool technology, keeps you in the lane, keeps you. I've never had air conditioning on my back in my seat before. I've got that. So, but it's one of those things where like going, why is that overlooked? Is it overlooked because it says Ford, not Infinity? You know, so, and I don't know, when you're talking about hype, that's where I think, you know, some products get overlooked because of hype.
Yeah, I think if we looked at the data, you'd find that Ford probably massively outsells Infinity, though. So it might be the other way around, right?
Could be.
But you know, like I did have an Infinity, not an SUV. It was a G37S coupe, like, you know, it's a cool car, little sports car, and it was a nice car. It was a nice colors, and you know, I never got that emotional attachment to it at all. And it was a lease. And when I turned in the lease, I was like, let's see, like I never got an attachment to that car, and everything. Like, I thought the price was really good for what we got. It was beautiful color, good performance. Never connected with it. And I just don't know. We even named her. We named her Roxy, and I still didn't really get much of a connection to the car. I just never. And then after that, I had an SUV, an Acura, and I just couldn't sort of. Again, same thing. No emotional connection by the time we were done, and it was just like, just get it out of here. I'm done with it. Now Lucy that I got now, love that car. Like, so I've got a real emotional connection with that car, and I don't know why that is, but I think that's really important. And there's some things that when you buy, like, there's some things I think when you buy, there has to be that emotional connection. You can look and over research and do all and look on paper, especially at vehicles, but I'll test drive every single one till I find the one that I have that emotional connection with, because everything else to me is just a number on a page. And it starts to get like, you know, it's like, yeah, I test drove 20 cars and nothing seemed to hook. And all of a sudden one does. I don't know why. Right.
All right. So here's what I think we've learned, right? Is that the original quote was data beats emotion. But what I think we did was we found that they're really strongly connected. And I don't know that we really definitively agree that data beats emotion. I think there's a little bit of human contact that has to take place with the data. I think it supports the emotion.
I think you're right, because I think there's times where, and I think we covered some of them, where I think the data can actually be misleading and actually take you away from opportunity, like investing in things or buying real estate at when it's low, or like, I guess it depends how you look at the data, but you have to have that emotion. You can't, because you have to really believe in what you're doing. When you're talking with clients, and when you're looking at your customers and everything else, I don't think it can all be data driven. But on the other side, you can be so misled by emotion where data will help clarify. So I think they go hand in hand. Some industries are very much more heavy on data and some are much more heavy on emotion, right? Like I don't know if you could be a musician and go, we're going to build this on data. No, I don't think that's going to work.
All right, so let me ask you this then. Are we misapplying the word emotion? We're really talking about instinct versus emotion. Or are they the same and maybe I'm confused?
No, it's a good question. And I think there's times where, it's instinct is more of that gut feel, but emotion is a reaction that isn't, I don't know if it's, maybe it is, maybe they're completely related. Someone out there would know if they're completely related, but it feels different to me. Like I said, when with a car, that's not instinct, that's emotion. And I'm like, I love this car. And if you can make a product that people emotionally connect to, you're gonna sell more. You're gonna sell more, right? Well,
if we use just data to make decisions, as this suggests, we would all be driving Priuses, least expensive, right? We'd all be driving, and we don't.
Yeah. So, and if we were doing that, developing our product, if every single thing we did, we tried to do off of data, so many people use this and not enough people use that. Well, let's cut that loose and we'll get rid of it. Like, I think you would, it feels very much like I complain sometimes when it seems like decisions are made by bean counters, and it's like, you're missing, that's important, but you're missing this other human side. You're missing your customer side. You're missing this, this emotional reaction.
All right. I don't know if you watch like college football or NFL football or anything like that now, or even baseball.
Yeah, though I watch football mostly, but yeah.
Here's the thing. You're seeing a bigger trend of people taking what was considered in the past super risky, dumb decisions from coaches, like 4th and 1 on your own 20-yard line, right? Meaning if you don't make it, you give the ball over to the other team with only 20 yards to go, not 80 if you punt.
Yeah.
And you're seeing more and more of that. And the theory behind it is they are following the data. They're not allowing their emotions and their gut instinct to say, yeah, we should punt because that's a conservative play. It's 78% of the times we make it on 4th down, right? Yeah. No matter where it is on the field, we make it on 4th down. So we go for it because it's 78% of the time. And that's a whole different level of using data to make a decision. Whereas the spectator like me goes, what in the hell are you doing? Like you're almost giving up points.
Well, and sports is like, we never even really got into that. That's an entire area we could have done, an hour on just that area, because, when Billy Beane sort of changed baseball with analytics, right? I'm sort of painted with Billy Beane. I know it's not like it. There's a much bigger picture behind that and everything, but really,
what was the big thing though? Like on base percentage or slugging? There was some type of percentage.
On base percentage, I think, was one of the biggest ones early on. I think now they have data points on everything, but I think what they found is baseball is a sport that is, you could lean more towards data and get a lot out of it. Like up here in Canada, everything is hockey. They'll talk about an obscure data point in the middle of August when there's nothing happening in the hockey world, but they'll find something to talk about. But I think what they found in hockey is it's still a little more up to debate. So they have these analytics, and there's possession, and there's this and there's that, and there's all these numbers and Corsi and blah, blah, blah. And
hockey is so random though. There's too many variables that happen all through hockey. With baseball, it's one batter, one pitcher.
Yeah.
Over and over.
Exactly. So the data there at times, like there's a group that if it's not with the data, they dismiss everything. They think every coach GM in the world is the dumbest in the world because they're not using data for everything. And then there's the ones that is all 100% the old eye test, and it's like, yeah, but this guy's really bad at this because you can see the numbers. And that's a sport where it feels like you have to have, there's a lot more of a mix, right? There's 10 players on the ice at once and a whole bunch of stuff happening at once. And the data isn't like one batter, one pitcher. And so it's hard to go all in on that. And so there's in baseball, I'm like, yeah, data trumps, emotion or whatever. Yeah, emotion. That's probably not quite accurate for sports, but it's the same sort of thing. That data means more there than a sport like hockey. And then if you go to, I'm sure there's other sports, there's even further the other way where data has even less value.
See, we should have brought that up earlier. What's the matter with us?
I thought of sports right off the top, and then it never came back until you mentioned it. I just completely forgot.
All right, so I think this is a suggestion. We have an episode, maybe season 3, where we just do sports data or sport. It's something about sports data
and how it relates to business. We got to sing it, swinging around, or beer. I don't know.
Or beer
somewhere.
I guess it has to be, because it's a business, right? It's the business of football. It's the business of, baseball. We can make that work.
And yeah, well, we can talk about it for hours and just knowing not enough to even be dangerous, but we can still talk about it because we'll have more than enough opinions.
Who I'm grateful for today? Roughhouse Brewing and mylifeinabook.com. Because they're our sponsors and they're doing a wonderful job promoting us and helping us out. So what'd you learn? What's your final thoughts here?
Final thoughts are, next time you say you're going to share a screen, nope. I'm going to say no. Don't.
That was so dumb. That was really dumb.
No, but I did take a note. I wrote it down because I actually want to check this out after, because I'm like, that's a cool tool. So I'm actually kind of kidding you, but I'll bet you people listening and watching are checking it out, because what it did is very cool. I think when you first brought up the quote, I just went, yes, data trumps emotion. And by the time we got to the end of the show, like, man, it is a lot more nuanced than that. It's like anything else. It sounds good and it seems black and white. And when you actually really look at it, it gets into a whole bunch of grays and it's not quite the same. But it actually kind of makes me realize that, yeah, like there's emotion is important in business, and it's you can't just dismiss it.
I totally agree. And what I hope emotion does today is it drives people to mikeandblaine.com so they can buy our merchandise.
Buy us a beer.
They can buy us a beer. Or they can just share our podcast with their friends. Either way, but go to mikeandblaine.com, check it out. And you always talk about YouTube. You're trying to drive that. Let's see what happens.
Oh, I always forget. So go to subscribe on YouTube, follow us, like us, whatever it is on all the different platforms. Subscribe. I think that's the key word, subscribe. We actually now on our YouTube videos have like a little subscribe thing, and other videos, all courtesy of Mike telling me I should do that. And I didn't know I even could.
Did you get it? Did you start doing that?
Every one of them. 58 episodes all have all that stuff on them now. So yeah, so go check us out on YouTube. And check us out, subscribe, do all that kind of stuff. Come back next week, because next week is another big round number, 60.